Do you remember the moment that you decided not to follow the traditional education route?
It's of course a scary thing to do.
Almost listening to people, but like taking your own way.
The first thing to do is to really don't give a shit.
Okay.
You will study and then you will study more, and once you finish, then you get a job.
But then when you realize that's the opportunity, just keep doing it.
So we wake up with a bill of, I think, $300,000.
Wow.
I really felt I need to do something.
That's kind of defines a lot of really good startups.
When I started, I just had myself and
That's a good way of looking at VCs. You know, I know everybody looks at them that way.
just do it.
Say, you know what, let me take at least maybe a couple of weeks break and, do my own things that I enjoy. 3 words.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey there, if you're new to Startup Struggles, this is the show where we dive deep into the real challenges founders face building their companies. You will hear stories you won't find in the typical success-focused podcasts. We give you raw, honest conversations about what it really takes. Thank you for being part of our story. Welcome to the Startup Struggles. This is another episode we're starting today with Sebastian. Sebastian Carl-Olov Hjärne, born in South Sudan, no formal university education, built your first startup with zero funding and got acquired in 7 months. Raised 4 million from Equity Ventures and Klarna CEO. Anything I missed?
No, I think all good there. No, but yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure. It's always a pleasure to meet guys like you, and the startups that you grow is kind of becoming the part of the of our world every day. So you were born in South Sudan but grew up in Sweden and sort of skipped university. What was your childhood like, and how did those early experiences shape your drive to start companies, to do all the entrepreneurial stuff that you do?
I think from the absolute beginning and like my childhood, of course, I have two parents and they got divorced when I was a little bit when I was small. But I think overall my parents has been super supportive. I didn't have super good contact with my father from the beginning, so I lived mostly with my mom. But yeah, overall, really truly inspiring, my mother and even my stepfather, so I have a super good relationship with them overall.
Awesome. So that kind of drove you forward to do all the things you did. Do you remember the moment that you decided not to follow the traditional education route and dive straight into entrepreneurship? Or how did the family and sort of the relationship with your parents really affect it? And how did they react onto the whole no university kind of stuff?
So I started when I started from the first time, I had this high conviction that I could do something myself, and I really felt it. But at the same time, you still need to make money, and you still need to you have your parents saying that you need to do and go do like an education and everything like this. So and they were always asking like, okay, but how should you do money if you jump off your, because I was working as like a salesperson at as a regular sales company. I've always been into tech and all of these parts, but so I just felt that I wanted to do something, and I actually were to get a promotion at that company. So I've been there for 6 months, and we're about to get like a promotion.
How old were you at the time?
I was 18, I think. Yeah, 18 or
18.
19. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
18, I think. And then I was going to get a promotion, and one day before I was going to get the promotion, they just said to me that our one of our colleagues, or like my boss at that time, she actually got pregnant, so they needed to push on the entire process of being promoted. So then I just, out of pure frustration, started my first company. I felt I wanted to do something my own, and I felt like, okay, I wanted to do something. So this is when I started my first company.
Inquit, right? So your first company that you started aimed at to fixing technical recruiting, and you kind of exited after 7 months. Like, what was the time that you went through? I mean, you were so young. You were what, 19, 20 at the time. How did you change that perspective? And so what did it take to go through this?
I think it's a lot, and it's no walk in the park to start your own company. It's a very intense thing to do, because you have so many hats, and especially in the beginning. So you start at customer success manager, you're also the head of sales, you are, the CTO. So you have all these hats that you need to carry, and especially for me as a solo founder, because I
Mm-hmm.
also think it's a big difference. For most of the parts, you have like a couple of co-founders that you are running it with, and all this, have different topic and different things that you can share. So some
Mm-hmm.
might be better at legal, some might be better at tech, some might be more commercial. But on me, when I started, I just had myself, and it's a little bit more tricky to make everything work. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, we aim to build a solution where we can analyze huge amount of data and give you some context on that data. So imagine that you're sitting with a large chunk of data. What
Uh-huh.
do you want to do with that data, and like what can you actually do with that data? And it was a little bit before GPT popping out. So yeah, it was basically a way to like navigate your data.
Yeah, it would have been easier at the time, wouldn't it? If you had all the LLMs together. So you said once that your satiation for learning and sort of like when you started a company, you kind of joined with another technical person just to be alongside it, and then you started learning that process and then sort of jump between the roles, going into product and different other places. Uh, How does that process start? I mean, you kind of get scared of like the new things most of the times. Did you have that feeling at the time?
Of course a scary thing to do, to just bump out of the thing that everyone says safe, and the traditional route to go. You have studied your entire life, and usually it's a pretty set definition of what you want to do. You will
Mm,
study, and then you will study more, and once you finish, then you get a job. So this
right.
is usually the process, and to go against that, that is very different, of course. And you will have a lot of people that is either think it's why, who are you to start your first company, and do you have the experience, do you have what it goes for? And I think the first thing to do is to really don't give a shit.
Okay.
Because if you start to listen to these crowds, you will just be dragged back, both of the energy perspective, but also from someone else saying what you can do and you can't. I think that is completely up to you and what you feel that you actually can execute.
Interesting. I think it's a really good advice in terms of almost listening to people, but like taking your own way. And I always find that fascinating that it's hard to do in the moment, but then when you realize that's the opportunity, that's kind of you just keep doing this. Like every new iteration, you just like realize that, and then that feeling is always with you. Um, did you have in that of period when you started the venture from the time when you sold it or got acquired? Did you ever had a moment of like I'm just fed up and just quitting it? What kept you going? Was it a person? Was it a shared belief in like, okay, I'm just gonna do whatever I feel like? Just stubbornness.
I think it's a lot towards stubbornness, because what you also need to have in mind in during this period is not an easy task. So it's so much shit going on. And I remember I was waking up with a huge cloud provider that we have had like in our mind, and we had, unfortunately, at that stage we didn't have a VC backing, we didn't have a lot of money. And I think overall, you just wake up a Sunday, and apparently me or some of my co-founders at in the first way forgot to turn off the translation parts. So we wake up with a bill of, I think, $300,000, and
Wow.
apart from that, we have a lot of other things to navigate. And if we don't do something fast, they will freeze the code, and you won't be able to do anything until you pay
Hmm.
the bill, basically.
Oh,
So in a very short amount of time, we needed to migrate everything over from another cloud provider. And this is, like, of course, not a lot of people know about, but in the same sense, that is also what you learn to do when you're starting a company, to navigate various situations. It's just like your day to day is just to solve different kind of fires that you need to put down, how sort to say.
yeah, yeah. It's spinning those plates, right? Is I always imagine that guy that spins the plates and then just runs from one another and just keeps spinning them. And until you kind of if you stop at any point, one of those plates will break and you'll still need to maintain it. It's a very interesting. How do you handle these personally, like in terms of mentality? Do you have any routine? Do you just like that's the way you are? What if you thought back to that period? I mean, getting a bill of 300K just because somebody forgot to do something, that's a pretty intense moment. And then also physically, like, you have to, okay, you'll go to the solution and you try and find the way to solve it, but you still need to mentally kind of switch on and prepare and then be okay with it, not just cry or no, God forbid, jump out of the window. What do you do in that perspective?
I think there's a couple of elements that need to be in place. I tend to come up. I got a question from a person for a while ago, and he asked me how I navigate different kind of stuff. And overall, I developed something which I called zero principle.
Okay.
So, with other words, what that is basically, a philosophy that I'm thinking about, when I'm with people, when I'm with like people around me. So the equation is pretty simple. If you multiply anything by a zero, you will eventually become a zero, right? Even if you
Right.
have $100 billion in your account and you multiply that by zero, you will become zero. And I think that is a lot towards energy, right? So if you are with the right people, you have the right stability and things, and people around you that doesn't drag you down or take your energy, that means that you eventually will get to something better. And if you start to be with like people that takes a lot of energy, they drain you, apparently you will be dragged down with you. So with other words, this is how I see it. And then therefore you need to have amazing people around you where you can like talk to, evaluate ideas, and it can be like external people that is not even inside of it. And in parallel, one very important thing for me is actually to train, because that keeps my head like good.
Train is in physical training? Oh,
Physical training.
right.
So either it can be if I don't have time to train, I usually tend to make time to train. But if I don't, I just can go out for a walk, just clear my mind, and get to think about something else. So I tend to think a lot about training overall as a big
Mhm.
topic for me.
Very interesting. So would that mean the opposite is also true? So if you multiply by zero, it gives you zero, regardless of how much it is and what talent you have from your within. That if you have a really fantastic team and sort of the customers that pay you, that it multiplies the amounts of those, colleagues and sort of the talents that you get. Does it go up
100%.
that way as well? Okay.
Yeah. So everything starts with people and eventually talent. Everything that we are,
Hmm.
seeing, everything that we're using, and this eventually adds up to exactly what you are describing now. And I think, this is also why we started Talentium from the beginning, because everything starts with talent.
If you're finding value in these stories, please hit subscribe. You will really help us reach more founders who need to hear they're not alone in the struggle. Thank you for being part of our story. And so you got Invies acquired. You move on to Talentium. Was it like immediate, or did you say, you know what, let me take at least maybe a couple of weeks break and do my own things that I enjoy?
Yeah. So after I first like started my first company, I was out traveling for a while. So I wanted to see the world a little bit because I've been stuck in Stockholm for my entire life. Like, of course, I've been maybe traveling a little bit, but mostly I've been in Stockholm. And when I was out traveling, I started to play some tennis actually, and started to feel like, okay, there is something inside of tennis that I want to learn. And every time I went to the court, I needed to buy new tennis balls.
Right.
So at that point, I just went and buying tennis ball scans all in all. And after every single training that I've done, I
Hmm.
needed to throw the balls away due to my training partner, and he said like we needed to buy new balls. So in that sense, I really felt I need to do something towards this space, because you can't consume this much tennis balls without using the material and just getting burned. So I started to do some research, and I saw that like 98% of all tennis balls is just getting burnt on depony
Well,
and stuff like that. And started my second company called Reballs. So the idea was pretty simple. We take the tennis balls, we are pressuring new air inside of them, and we are selling them as Reballs,
hmm
100% reused tennis balls.
hmm
But the thing was, after you use the tennis balls one time, I still started to get the tennis balls back over and over and over again. So I felt, okay, I kind of solved one part of the process, but it doesn't matter because I still get the material back again. So separately with this, we started to develop a machine. And that machine could actually separate the filth from the rubber. So with the rubber, you can use the rubber to build new playgrounds for children's, and different parts
Exactly.
with your use of rubber. Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And we are taking the green thing as like the fiber, and we are adding, or like the polyester basically, and we are adding like a fiber to the polyester so that you can use it inside of warm insulation, inside of walls, and all of these parts. And for me, it was just like first a big unlock of like feeling that I'm doing something great for the environment, because people don't tend to see how big of problem tennis balls actually are. We are throwing away over 300 million tennis balls each year, and we don't even know how many paddles and all of this, and we estimate that it's even more than 600 million tennis/paddle balls every year that's just getting consumed. And that is like, tons and tons and tons of rubber, polyester that just getting thrown away. And for me, this is a thing that we really, really need to fix, and this is why I started Play Green from that beginning.
Wow.
But I was back now. I was trying to find the people, trying to find those people that could build an actual machine. I was trying to find people
Back
for
to
my
Sweden.
business.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I was trying to find those people, and it was so hard. I was, struggling in finding those people, both, to finding them. And once I find them after a couple of months, I needed to nurture them. I needed to come up with messages to write. And, all of these parts just took so much time for me. And I didn't have the money to go to a peer recruitment firm. And this is why
Right.
I started my last company, which is called Talentium.
Okay, so it's a bit of a journey here. So you started Talentium on the back of your own problem, and I think that's kind of defines a lot of really good startups. Is you solve your own problem first, you move on from there, and then you find that somebody else has the same problem, and then somebody else has the same problem, and like people actually um, enjoying using what you're already building, and this is an amazing feeling, isn't it? It's just like one of those things where you suddenly realize it's not just needed for you, because some problems are very small and they're just only within your environment. And so you ended up building a wait list of 1,000 people for Talentium. Like, was it during a long period of time? Was it mainly your friends, or did you just sort of go out? How did you make that process scalable, I guess, to get to 1,000? I don't think you started with 1,000. I think maybe started with one or two or three. But then, what was the process like to get there?
I think there's a lot of things, and now we actually grown from 1,000 to like I think over 2,500 companies coming, organically inbound that actually wants Talentium as a service. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a lot of things towards it. So of course, identify the problem. That is the first thing. So I
Mm-hmm.
think for me and how I see and start to tend to look at problem is also, everything starts with the problem that you want to solve. So you need to understand what you're actually automating. That is one part. You can automate millions and millions of things, but if you don't understand why you're automating stuff, then you will have an even bigger problem, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So we started to analyze a problem which was, shared with very much multiple companies, and this is what we see. And from the beginning, how we started was that we just wanted to focusing on, the core of hiring. So what is it that we're actually solving, and how can we automate it? And then it was just towards like media exposure that we're challenging, and going out there and saying, and throwing our words out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have this philosophy of having an amazing product, I think the rest will come. So we started to focus on really building a comprehensive product, and get one intro from somewhere, and then someone talked and someone talked and someone talked, and then it started to grow like pretty much. So we launched in May this year, and today Talentium is operating with customers in over 16 countries.
Wow.
So in the past 5 months, it's been pretty hectic, and we are not self-serve. So with other words, we're sitting with all these customers, trying to get to know them and their problem. And we are having companies from everything from large enterprise
Mm-hmm.
to startups, scale ups, to now also form a strategic partnership with Google in that sense, and to launch us at Google's marketplace
Oh, wow.
as a distribution partner.
Amazing. And you, when you started Talentium, you were how old?
I was 9. No, I was 20. 22.
22. So you ended up, going from one venture to another in this through a third venture essentially, which is still running, right? Your playground is still operational. Yeah. And then how did the transition to go from, oh, we are now operating, we have these customers, to say we need to scale up faster and let's go and find VCs? Was it a concise decision? Was it just a meeting with a VC? How did it come about?
I think we started to see this amazing market pull from the beginning, and we saw that we are in a market which is overall pretty competitive in a lot of ways. We are really differ from all the solutions out there, and even still. But I think we are in a market where we need to grow fast, and we have a pretty good big player that we are against towards. Like our competitors are already pretty big. So our big challenge was how can we scale even faster that we are doing once we're seeing this market pull. And I think that is the question towards everything. Can we scale faster? What can we do to optimize process? And how can we just do this better? And when we're saying scale faster, it can be scale product faster. How can we scale, sales cycle faster? How can we scale customer success funnel? How can we, all these parts? And then it's more, okay, how can we make this with a partner that also can support global expansion and support us
Right.
in different ways of thinking? And yeah.
Because you were at the moment you were still within Sweden. I mean, most of your customers were Swedish.
Right now, we have our biggest markets in Germany and Sweden right now, and but we also have customers in Japan and US and abroad. So, but
But
it's pretty,
pre-raise, you
yeah,
were still just Sweden. Okay.
yeah.
And so you're 22-year-old, no formal credentials apart from one company. You go out to VCs and you just start pitching your Talentium. Like, did you face skepticism? Did you have how did you build your credibility? And again, the attitude to sort of say, yeah, we can do it, and this is how we're going to do it.
I think we had an amazing team in the background. So our entire engineering team is former competitive programmers. IOI gold medalists, ICPC world finalists. Various amazing people just joining Talentium. And I can say this: we had our CTO called Noah Löfqvist, who also now started a company called Safon, which I think they raised 10 million in their pre-seed. And this is just saying and a validation that the people that we are bringing in at Talentium is exceptional. And we want I really want to work with people that is better at me in every single angle, so I also can learn and that we can contribute to different parts of the project. And we tend to see that people that is coming in is owning kind of the parts of the stack here. So you're owning a little bit part of your own stack, and you're contributing very much on different sides of the entire funnel. And I think it's back to talent. Everything starts with talent. Without a good team or good people, you will be nothing.
So when you came to VCs, you said, here's the team, here's the product, we know the market. Did you have revenue at the time?
Yeah, we also had revenue, and we were
you
pretty
were-
fast up with revenue as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's almost an easy sell, I guess. But then at the same time, I know how hard it is to go around VCs and pitch that. And was it? Do you think it was easier or harder within Europe versus, let's say, if you did it in the US? How was the process for you? Did it take long, or what was the difference between, if you now thought back, where would you go to actually raise first?
I think still, I think we did 100% the right thing to do. And, we wanted someone that can support us locally in order to scale globally. So we are a local company with, global ambition and global customers in that sense. So we want still to feel local, but yet global. So first round, we wanted a team that we can run over to and talk with. And I think now, of course, as we're opening up for growing even more, we want someone that can support us in global expansion as well. So I think we have a lot of things that we are now, of course, focusing on internally and control the funnel. But it's a little bit towards that.
Interesting. Very interesting. I think it's the relationship that is important. That's what I hear. Is you saying that we don't just necessarily need the money, but we need the relationship, the ability to just jump into the office and say hi, and then ask them for help. And that's a good way of looking at VCs. I know everybody looks at them that way. Let's talk AI. Right, it's been accelerating a lot. I guess in your field, it's been good and bad ways delivering some things for you. You previously cautioned against the AI and just slapping it on the products because everybody's AI now. I mean, the little island in the Caribbean is making so much money out of just people buying their domain that is crazy. So where do you see AI in recruitment truly going? Like, what is the boundaries for you? Do you still want recruiters to do some work? Are you towards like let's replace everybody and just let it run? Like, where is your stance here?
So for me, it's pretty simple. We want, with the help of AI, to make hiring more human again.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So in other words, we want to eliminate the manual work so you can focusing on what matters, get to know the people. So we are not a solution where we are auto screening people with the help of AI, and we will never be. We might
Mm-hmm.
have that option, and but for us, it's very important that you are getting to know these people behind the CVs and the resumes. And with the help of Talentium, you can first do a deep dive, because we can evaluate a lot of work that has been done from the technical perspective, but we can also check for design. If is this like minimalistic design, we can check for Google Scholar, check like, does this person know XYZ, even though he doesn't mention. And I think that builds a pretty comprehensive picture of the profile, and often things that recruiter as of today are missing. So we want recruiters to become like super people in that sense, and
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't focusing on sourcing. They shouldn't focusing on following up. They shouldn't focusing on taking notes in meeting. They should focusing on get to know those people and make calculated decisions. And this is exactly what Talentium is. It's a platform that works for you in the background, so you can focusing on what matters, get to know those people.
Yeah, I think that's the approach that I would definitely sign up behind, 100%. How do you manage your sort of work life? I don't think there is a work life balance as such, but there is a life that you want beyond just doing the things that we for your startup, and when it becomes part of your life, it's also important because you've got it's almost part of you, right? But how do you manage all these pressures from different directions and then trying to play tennis and do other things at the same time? What is your approach mostly?
Yeah, I think when it comes to pressure, I have been in a lot of difficult situations, and overall, I think the best thing that you can do is actually just to work. And what I mean with that is, sometimes either you can sit down and think, or you can start and try to execute and try to solve things. And my mindset is pretty simple: stay calm, and then try to see what is this for things that you actually can do in this situation. And then, of course, people is back to talking with the right people, benchmarking, getting some ideas. Now you have AI if you want to structure stuff or come up with new things. So it's basically just, I think all problems are almost solvable. This is my approach, and even the most difficult situation has something that you can do. So it's a lot towards just having, I don't know, in Swedish we say pannben, which means basically that you're having grit and continuously going.
Mm-hmm. Nice, I like that. Is it like a very specific cultural thing, or is it just the translation?
It's not like a super like maybe only towards Sweden. You have the Finnish sisu also.
Sisu, yeah, I heard that one before. Yes,
So
yeah,
it's the Swedish version.
right, right. Okay, I'm gonna start using this more. I really like that approach. So you've gone through all these parts, and where you are right now. If you were to, meet a 19-year-old, not yourself, but somebody else that is thinking of starting a company, thinking of starting a startup, thinking of doing something there, and give them three pieces of advice, what would they be?
Just do it.
Just do it. Okay.
So yeah,
Three words.
just start.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So in other words, like for me, it would be just get your hands dirty and start to learn, because overall, there is no it's like, for me, what works is learning by doing, and I don't think it's a recipe for everyone. I think
Mm-hmm.
people are different. So
Mm-hmm.
some learn by doing it directly, and some learn by reading a book, and some has a combination. But if you are interested in starting a startup, you need to have your mind that you want, like, probably succeed in the first companies that you are even running, but everything is towards learning. So if you're just keeping pushing and you're trying, eventually you will get to a point where hopefully you get a company that actually flies. But if I were to give advice in that sense, I would say just focusing on a problem, because I think there is so much automation out there today, and even now with volume, there's coming up more and more AI solutions. So I think try to find a problem, understand the problem, are we even solving it the right way today, and then start to automate. And what will the automation do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, you once said that it doesn't matter what the solution you have; it's what the actual problem that it solves and what you want to achieve out of it. Very cool. Um, so what does a success look like for you? I mean, beyond the financial metrics and obviously making it that way. When do you feel? Well, when will you feel like we've made it? Right, that's it. This is something that I've built in Talentium that I'm happy with.
I don't think I ever will feel that way, to be honest. It's both a curse and a blessing, because
Mm-hmm.
I think there is also things that always things that you can do. But for us, our North Star is hiring, and this is what we're optimizing for.
Mm-hmm.
So when we feel that the market is at a place where we basically can find your dream jobs in seconds and start to identifying the right opportunities and even get connected in parallel with companies finding the ones that they want and hire them and nurturing them in a way that feels very efficient, then I think we're in a good state. But still, we will be able to optimize, innovate, and this is a company that where we see will be here for very, very long term. So it's not something that we're building by overnight. We're doing it brick by brick and in the right direction. So yeah.
That's great. That's great. Sebastian, thank you so much. It's been super insightful. I have to say I've learned a couple bits for myself, and I really enjoyed having the conversation. Thank you for taking the time and coming on board.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. Take care.